So I recently picked up the DualSense Edge controller for PS5, and it also works for PC for Street Fighter 6 because I was getting a lot of misinputs with my regular DualSense Edge controller, like accidental level 1 supers and just not getting the directional inputs that I needed to really perform in the game. Now I was hoping that the DualSense Edge controller would have a better D-pad than the DualSense regular controller. I heard that a lot of pros use this controller, so I wanted to try it out and give it a go, and I was not satisfied with it. I was still getting accidental level 1s and not even really getting fireballs as well too. And for me, one of the most frustrating things is losing a game because of a misinput, and it could be me or it could be the controller. So I decided to switch it up a little bit. So a lot of people come into the stream and say, hey AM, what controller do you recommend if you're a pad player? And I finally found a controller that feels precise. I'm not getting my accidental level 1 supers as often. This is the standard Xbox Series X controller. Now misinputs still happen, but I think that's just a user error versus the controller. And I've been playing with this controller pretty frequently, and I'm happy to report that this is the controller that I recommend. When I'm moving around with the D-pad, the fact that I can hear every click of every movement, it makes me actually feel like I'm playing faster and more precise. I'm not sure if that's just a placebo effect because I'm hearing it, but it feels good and sounds good when you're moving around with this controller. Now, the edges of the D-pad are pretty sharp, so you will experience some thumb fatigue, especially if you play charged characters because you're constantly charging, and you should be charging all the time. But for regular input motion characters, I don't really feel that thumb fatigue. It's only really when I play Guile. The buttons on the controller are at a really good position, so you're able to do both buttons at the same time if you need to with just your thumb. When you're holding the controller, everything is at a very nice and tight angle, so you don't really feel any discomfort when you're holding it, especially when I'm playing for long periods of time. And of course, you got your shoulder buttons and your triggers. Now, since this is a standard Xbox Series X controller, you cannot adjust the trigger. They actually do fall pretty deep, and when I'm playing Guile, it's harder for me to get the perfect flash kicks because I have to really sync my up button with the trigger button exactly at the same time, and since the triggers are a little bit deeper, I have to press it just a little bit faster than my up pad. And that's one of the things I do not like about the controller for fighting games, is that the trigger buttons, especially if you use it often, they're very deep, so you got to overcompensate and press it a little bit early if you want those perfect flash kicks, or just making sure that your buttons come out on time. Now with the shoulder buttons, what happens is that when I'm holding the controller, sometimes it's harder for me to press the shoulder buttons because my fingers naturally rest on the triggers versus the shoulders. So when I'm playing, I have to remain conscious about where I place my fingers, and maybe right now I'm still getting used to it, so in time it'll naturally hover over the shoulder pads. But right now I find myself kind of reaching over to the shoulder buttons, especially when I'm trying to do DEI, and I do miss it as of right now because my fingers don't naturally rest on the shoulder button. Now, if you're looking to pick up this controller right now on Amazon, it's about $44, depending on the color that you choose as well too, but it's much better than the price point of the DualSense Edge controller, which comes out to $200. Now, that controller is mainly used for FPS games because of the paddles in the back, so you are getting a little bit more function than you would use in a fighting game. If you're looking for a controller with a D-pad that feels precise and sounds good while playing it, then I recommend the Xbox Series X controller. Overall, I'm much happier with my performance playing with this controller versus any other controller that I tried. But let me know what you think about this controller, or if you recommend a controller for fighting gamers, and let me know in the comments below so I can check them out as well too. I'm always looking for something new. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, GG's, and I'll see you later.